Circus Circus is the punchline of Las Vegas. It's the casino everyone jokes about, the place people warn you not to stay, the aging clown-themed resort that looks frozen in another era, and yet, while billion-dollar resorts around it have collapsed, stalled, gone bankrupt, or been demolished, Circus Circus is still standing. Not barely surviving, not limping along, still operating, still full of guests, still making money. And that contradiction is exactly why its story matters. To understand how Circus Circus survived while billion-dollar resorts failed, you have to understand what Vegas used to be and what it's become. Circus Circus opened in 1968, long before the Strip became a playground for corporate mega resorts. From the beginning, it made a decision most casinos would never dare to make today. It targeted regular people, families, budget travelers, casual gamblers, people who wanted to have fun without feeling intimidated or broke. While other casinos chased elegance and exclusivity, Circus Circus leaned into chaos. Cheap rooms, cheap food, low table limits, bright lights, noise, kids running around. It wasn't subtle and it wasn't refined, but it was honest about what it offered. That honesty turned out to be its greatest advantage. As Vegas evolved, most resorts moved in the opposite direction. Billion-dollar properties were built on the assumption that luxury would always win. Developers spent massive sums on glass towers, celebrity chefs, nightclubs, fountains, art installations, and ultra-premium amenities. These resorts needed high rollers, VIPs, conventions, and constant high-spending traffic just to break even. Their operating costs were enormous, and their margin for error was razor thin. When tourism slowed, when conventions dipped, or when economic conditions changed, those properties collapsed under their own weight. Circus Circus never had that problem because it was never built to be impressive. It was built to be full. The business model is brutally simple. Instead of relying on a small number of wealthy guests, Circus Circus relies on massive volume, thousands of families spending small amounts consistently, parents paying for arcade tokens, kids riding rides, casual gamblers feeding low-denomination slots, guests buying inexpensive food instead of high-end dining. No single customer matters much, but collectively, they create steady, predictable revenue. That stability is something billion-dollar resorts don't have. The Adventuredome is the clearest example of this advantage. While other casinos depend entirely on gambling and nightlife, Circus Circus has a massive indoor amusement park that operates year-round. It attracts families who might not gamble at all. It generates revenue regardless of what's happening on the casino floor. Even on slow gambling days, the Adventuredome stays busy. It's one of the only true family attractions anywhere near the Strip, and that alone keeps the property relevant in a city that increasingly ignores anyone under 21. Operating costs are another key reason Circus Circus survived when others failed. There are no luxury boutiques demanding high-end foot traffic. No celebrity chefs requiring million-dollar kitchens, no elaborate water features costing millions a year to maintain, no cutting-edge tech that becomes obsolete every 5 years. The resort is old, yes, but that age keeps costs low. Carpets can be ugly if they're clean. Rooms can be basic if they're affordable. Circus Circus doesn't need to reinvent itself every decade because its guests aren't chasing trends. That's exactly where billion-dollar resorts went wrong. They built for a version of Vegas that no longer exists, one where constant growth was guaranteed. When projects like the original Fontainebleau, the Sahara reboot, and other North Strip developments collapsed, it wasn't because they were ugly or poorly designed, it was because they were too expensive to sustain. They needed perfect conditions to succeed. Circus Circus survives because it thrives in imperfect ones. Ownership also plays a huge role. When Phil Ruffin bought Circus Circus in 2019 for $825 million, many people thought he was insane. Why buy the worst casino on the Strip? But Ruffin understood something others didn't. He didn't buy it for what it looks like today. He bought it for what it sits on. 88 acres of strip land. That land becomes more valuable every year. Ruffin doesn't need Circus Circus to be glamorous. He just needs it to keep operating while the North Strip stabilizes. Every year it survives, the payoff gets bigger, and unlike corporate giants, Ruffin doesn't answer to quarterly earnings calls or shareholders demanding growth at any cost. He can afford to wait. He can afford to keep things simple. He can afford to let the clown keep smiling while billion-dollar neighbors panic. Another factor most people overlook is psychology. Casual tourists feel comfortable at Circus Circus. They don't feel judged for betting small. They don't feel pressure to spend money they don't have. That comfort keeps people gambling longer. While luxury casinos raise table minimums and scare off average players, Circus Circus keeps the barrier to entry low. $5 blackjack still exists here. Penny slots dominate the floor. That accessibility is rare on the Strip now, and it creates loyalty. Critics love to point out Circus Circus's reputation for being outdated or sketchy, but the reality is more nuanced. Every major Vegas resort deals with crime and security issues. Circus Circus attracts families more than nightlife crowds, which actually reduces certain risks. The perception lingers because of aesthetics, not data. Ugly does not equal unsafe. But in Vegas marketing, those two things get blurred constantly. While billion-dollar resorts chased influencers, luxury branding, and international prestige, Circus Circus quietly served a demographic Vegas forgot. Middle-class families, budget travelers, international tourists who don't care about reputation and just want value. These guests didn't disappear. They just stopped being catered to elsewhere. Circus Circus became their last refuge on the Strip. That's why it keeps winning. The biggest irony is that Circus Circus may end up being worth far more in the future than many of the resorts that mocked it. When the North Strip finally stabilizes, whether through new infrastructure, events, or development, that land becomes prime. At that point, Circus Circus doesn't need to survive forever. It just needs to survive long enough. And when it's eventually redeveloped or sold, the return will dwarf what many billion-dollar resorts ever earned. So while people laugh at Circus Circus, here's the uncomfortable truth. It understood Vegas better than the places that failed. It understood that accessibility beats aspiration. That volume beats exclusivity. That honesty beats illusion. And that regular people, not whales, built this city. Circus Circus didn't outlast billion-dollar resorts because it was lucky. It outlasted them because it never forgot who Vegas was really for. And in a city that keeps forgetting its roots, that might be the smartest strategy of all.